Hello and welcome, disruptors. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery Moments with Dr. Alisa Whyte, your number one mindset disruptor. Because guess what? Your mindset is the key to your success in your life, in your career, in your business, and in everything you do and everything that you're going to level up in and achieve. Hey, this is all about an audio-only moment to help you enhance your daily routines by providing new perspectives, encouraging your personal and professional growth, and pushing you beyond your comfort zone for optimum success. So let's dive right in today's episode. All right, my dear listeners and disruptors, we have got a new mastermind in the building today. Mr. Akeem Shannon, you're welcome back to Mindset Master Moments with Dr. Alisa, where stories of resilience and triumph take center stage. And today we've got Resilience Redefined, from Shark Tank to Top 50 CEO. We're talking with the one and only, and now for me, he's a thought leader as well, in addition to all the magnificent things he's done because of the way this young man thinks. Akeem Shannon's transformative journey has been something that's outstanding. I want to tell you, Akeem's path from overcoming setbacks, you've heard it already, to launching his product on Shark Tank, securing a spot among the top 50 CEOs, is a testament to his indomitable spirit. You heard some of it. We're tapping into his energy. We're tapping into his process of manifesting. I want to encourage you to continue to listen to him. Follow him on social media. We'll be talking about all of that, because he is not just creating a life and the exemplification of what a lot of people tend to think the American dream is. He really is the path and an example of what mindset mastery. When you master your thoughts, you listen. The last time before we close out the last segment, he shared with us that you have to understand the seasons of life. Go with the flow, be okay with it, but prepare. Prepare for spring and summer. Winter always comes, but it's that season of preparation, and how you handle winter is going to determine the fruit you are able, and the harvest you're able to retrieve when spring and summer comes. Akeem, we got a question for you, because my brain is just popping. I could sit here and pull from you. Here's what's so admirable, ladies and gentlemen, disruptors, is I know he's very young, and to accomplish what he's accomplished is the same reason why we have mindset mastery. Because I'm telling you, everyone who's successful, it's not because they did not have crazy-ish happen. It's how they thought about life and how they approach life. And Akeem, you mentioned so much about your mom. And so I want parents or intended parents or anyone who's teaching to lean into that concept. Because one of the ways we're going to save our future and form our future is by grabbing the mindset and the thought process. I believe in teaching young children how to think, Akeem. So when you tell us that, would you say that your mom taught you how to think and continue to help you groom? I listened to how you said, she said you can, but here's what you want to consider. How do you look at that? Because in your journey, you've done some mentorship. So when you look at where you come from your mom, would you say that in your early years, this mindset of resilience was already there? And share with us a time when you completely just melted down and didn't know if you were going to come back up.
Truthfully, my mom probably discovered this mindset only a few years before she started teaching it to me. And, growing up, it wasn't something we talked about a lot. For me, failure was something I needed to hide, and I did it a lot, right?
Wow.
Anytime, whether, of course it happened when I was in college, but it happened in high school, it happened other times, like when I would mess up in school, I would try to hide it from my parents. So I did not have that mindset of resiliency and failure is okay, and these are learning experiences.
Wow.
Excuse me. But, I think for me, my mom's mindset changed, which then did help me. was when I came out to her. I
Mm-hmm.
remember,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I was 22 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I finally had worked up the courage. I'd done a stint in a psych ward, and I
Mm.
was just in a really bad place in my life. And I finally came out to my mom. We had a really tough time of it over the next year or so. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had recently started a new job.
Mm-hmm.
I just started working at Square,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out in San Francisco, and my mom called me, and we ended up being on the phone for probably like 4 hours. And we
Mm-hmm.
just had this very spiritual, meaningful conversation. I had recently gone through this like spiritual awakening, and I was just talking to her. And she's a very traditional Christian woman. My grandfather's a minister, AME Church, and we just had this really honest spiritual conversation.
Yes.
And it stirred something inside of her,
Mm.
where I think for the first time, since I came out to her, she just saw me for who I really was. And to be fair, I actually allowed her to see me for who
See
I really
you.
was.
Wow. Wow.
Um, and over the next year after that, she changed a lot. And our
Mm.
relationship changed a lot. We got much closer.
Mm-hmm.
And she was going to like a new church, and she was listening to these new things, and just her whole mindset changed. And so she started sending me these videos of all kinds of just spiritual leaders,
Wow.
people like Joel Osteen, to oh, I can't even think of all the people that she sent, but it was I saw this big change in her,
Right.
and it allowed us to have this close relationship. And so when I finally did quit my job at Square and then tell them that I had quit and I was going to go do my own thing, when we launched our Kickstarter page and I showed her the product for the first time, she just looked at me. She's like, "You're a genius. You are a genius." And it just made me feel, it made me feel so great. And so from literally day one of starting my company, like
Mm-hmm.
she was always just like, "You can do this. What do you like?" She would, when we had a festival, her and my father would come and they'd work for free
Yes.
to help sell flip sticks when I was in the mall, and me and my two employees were burnt out and working 12-hour days. They would come and relieve us so we could get a day off. Like, I'm just so grateful that my parents, you know, they just believed in me, even
Yes.
though I had failed in the past, and, there was definitely no guarantee it was going to work out. They believed in me. And so in those times where I didn't feel resilient, when I didn't have my strength yet to,
Yes.
to feel that way, they pushed me
Pushed
up.
you
And so I
up.
think it's so important. Like, mentorship to me is one of the most important
Mm.
uh, reasons that I credit to my success. My first mentors were being my parents, but then I would have other mentors that would come along the way that had achieved the things that I was trying to achieve.
Uh-huh.
And I often link it to accountability. Like, I remember when I
Mm.
was early on in Flipstick, and there were days, there'd be 3, 4, 5 days where I wouldn't ship people their stuff, or I just wouldn't feel motivated. And I remember thinking, like, man, when I was a kid and I didn't do my homework, my dad would just sit me in front of
Spanking
him and
on
watch
you.
me do my
Yeah.
homework.
Or something.
And I
Yeah.
was like, I kind of need that right now.
Right.
And, it was one of those things where when I got a really great mentor, we
Mm-hmm.
checked in every week, and he would just push me. And not only would he push me, but I felt accountable to him. I was like, I told him I was going to get this done, but next time we talk, then I need to get it done. And I
Right.
started seeing momentum build. And the more mentors I brought into my life, and the more people that knew what it was I was trying to accomplish, the more that now I didn't just have to hold myself accountable, because no one's going to know. When it was just
Right.
me, no one's going to know if I did it or didn't. But once I had
Exactly.
employees and mentors and investors, now everyone would know. But it
Mhm.
also made me feel like, yeah, let me get this stuff done. And so as I started getting more progress, I
Yes.
started feeling even better. And I would be
Right.
motivated to do things because I'm like, man, if I just do a couple things, we'll do more and more and more. So I just started to see this huge trajectory.
Shift.
And it
Yes.
came from that mentorship, encouragement when I needed it, sternness when I needed it, but also compassion when I needed it.
When you needed it.
Um,
Woo!
you know,
I just love what you said. you emphasize the importance of mentorship in your journey in life, it sounds like, for me, and in business, and you bring that duality to light so well that we talk a lot about on Mindset Mastery Moments. Dr. Green was on here last episode, like I said, and he talked about, he always shares that mentorship is the only shortcut
Mm,
in life and in business. And we talked about it a little bit, and it sounds like you're reaffirming it, because you're going to have to do the hard work. But who you have accountability to, who you have
mm,
in your ear, who has your ear time, who you're surrounding yourself with. Because let's face it, Oprah Winfrey is a mentor to me. I haven't met her yet. Keywords.
mm.
Yeah.
Yet.
But I feed on her moves. I feed on her, some of her teachings. I watch who she surrounds herself with. And I have people like that in my life and my journey. So thank you so much for sharing that. We want to pivot a little bit to your entrepreneurial journey. And one of the things that, when I read your bio and I know I got to know of you, is your passion and drive for empowering others. Just the last week on your social media feed, you have been talking about your journey and some of the mental health struggles that you had early on that you just alluded to. When it comes to inclusivity in entrepreneurship, your commitment to making the American dream accessible to the unprecedented groups is absolutely commendable. Well, here's the question that I have for you. How do you see mindset playing a role in
Mm,
creating more inclusive entrepreneurial landscapes? What steps would
mm,
you say an individual should take to contribute if they're thinking about that? We talk about a lot of diversity and inclusion, but it's a lot of theory, a lot of talk. But your practice, how would you say we can shift our mindset to really
mm.
support that?
I appreciate that question. I was serving on a commission for the Brookings Institute, which is this huge think tank, right? And the commission, our goal was to understand and come up with a solution for why, even though um, minorities and women make up 75% of the population of the country, they only receive 2% of funding. And as we went through this process, it became very clear to me
Mm-hmm.
that the reason they didn't get funding is because the what these investors and what these funds are doing now, it works. They're making lots of money. They don't need to invest in minorities and women to make more money. They're making more money they've ever have.
Right.
And so what I realized was, I was like, this is not an issue of changing hearts and minds. I was like, if there's no incentive for them to change, they won't change.
Come on.
That's the reason that, anything in this country happens is people are forced, they're either forced to change with the stick or they're forced to change with the carrot, right? Either I'm going to take something
I
from you if you
love
don't
that.
change, or I'm going to give you something to change. And
Wow.
so then I had to think about it again and say, well, even though that's true, right? That minorities and women, black people, brown people were not getting any of the funding. Even with that being true, in this country,
Mm-hmm.
there are 2 million black millionaires. There are more black millionaires in this
Wow.
country than every country in the world combined. And
Wow.
so I have to ask myself, how is it that those two things can both be true? This massive inequity exists, but also this massive opportunity exists.
Exactly.
And I believe it's because in America, there is a mindset that you can do it. And so even if it's not fair, because it won't be, even if it's difficult, you can do it. And so when thinking about mindset, I remember there was this quote from this great researcher, and he talked about, if you can convince a man that he is worthless and that he is less than, and he is subjugated, he'll believe it.
Can't believe it.
Even if there's no back door for him to go to, he'll find the back door because he will tell himself, this is all I deserve. And that is a
Wow.
mindset I think a lot of people in America and around the world honestly have, is like, I'm less than, I'm not as good as those people. Those people have it better than me. I am being subjugated by them. I'm being put down by them. And therefore, that's where I am where I am. And it's like, look, if somebody in Bangladesh with no internet
Mm,
and no electricity
mm.
can lift themselves up out of a swamp to become a millionaire, then we have no excuse. It's possible.
Yeah.
It may not be easy, and for everyone, the journey will be different, but it's still possible to do. And
Yeah.
so when I mentor people, my whole goal is how do we erase the limiting mindset,
Come
the,
on.
the limited mindset that you may have around what it is that you
You
can
can
achieve.
do. Come on.
And it's like we can't control what everyone else does, right? We
Right.
can't control the roadblocks that get placed, the way that people will stop us from trying to move forward. We can't control that. We can't control how much money we started with. We can't
Yes.
control that. But what we can control is how we move through the world
Ooh,
given what we see in front of us.
come
And
on.
so if we can choose to move through the world in a way that says, no, my dream, my journey, whatever it is I want to achieve is out there waiting for
Waiting for
me.
me.
God and the universe will all conspire
Hiring.
together to help me to get to
Come
that
on.
journey. If I just take the next step,
Hmm.
I think it changes everything. And so I remember when I first started
Mm-hmm.
Flipstick, I had gotten accepted to be a mentor in Big Brother's Big Sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd start Big Brother Big Sister. I get my little brother and I'm telling him, hey, I'm working on this project. I got this new product I'm coming out with.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, well, here, let me go help you sell it. And this kid was very shy. He came from, a rough neighborhood
Yes.
but his mom wanted him to be in this mentorship program. And so I was like, okay, you want to help me sell these things? So we went
Yeah.
down, we're in St. Louis. We went down to the Arch, right? There's all these people there. And I'm like, all right, well, sell it. And he goes to the first person and he's like, um, I'm selling money to raise money for my school. And do you want to buy this? And I said, what did you just say to that person?
Hey.
And they're like, well, what is it? And he's like, oh, it's a flip stick and it lets you stick things and stuff. And the very first person he talked to with that crazy pitch said, all right, here's $10. And I saw that and he did it
But
again, he did it again.
uh-huh.
And he started to break out to his shell. The shy kid started
Wow.
to break out of his shell. And I remember a few weeks later, he's seeing me. We launched our Kickstarter campaign. We made like $15,000 in 30 days. And he's watching all this. He got to watch this whole journey from the very beginning. And so he gives me this paper that he had written for English class. And it was a story he had written. And he got an A on it. And I read it and I was like, this story's terrible. I don't know why your teacher gave you an A. I can't even understand what you wrote here. There's grammatical mistakes. There's errors. This is terrible. But I said, but look, it seems like in this story, you have something that you want to say.
Yeah.
But the only way that somebody can understand what it is that you have to say is if you say it well. And over the course of the next year, we practiced. He wrote more stories. He got better at his grammar. And on his 16th birthday, I actually paid to get his book published. We published his book. He put it out. Target ended up buying some. He ended up selling over 1,000 copies of this book. And I remember he kept talking to all these self-published authors on this journey, and they hadn't sold hardly any books. And here he went on to sell more books than all these people he had talked to. And I got to watch this shy kid who, when I met him, his dream was to work at Chick-fil-A. Like that was, if he could get a job at Chick-fil-A, he would be happy.
Oh.
And this same kid published his own book. He then went on to publish a second book.
Yeah.
And it was just this remarkable, it was just so remarkable to me to watch him blossom into who he was supposed to be. From such a limited view of what he thought was possible to, he just started college this year. He got a full scholarship to college because he was a published author. He had not only did he get a full scholarship, he ended up getting like $20,000 back from the school because he had so much money over what the school required of him. And it was just, man, it made me feel so good to just be a small part of what he was able to accomplish. But it all started up here and in here. Yes. Because at first none of that stuff seemed realistic to him.
Yeah, come on.
But he watched, he observed, and he took action. And that was action. It just made me so proud to, be his big brother. Yeah. And so that's why I'm a huge believer in mentorship. I've had some incredible mentors, and I've also been fortunate enough to be a mentor to some incredible individuals. And I think that when you watch somebody do something that you are trying to accomplish, in your mind, it makes it seem easier because you're like, well, they did it and I know them
Yes.
and they're a regular person just like me. And if they tell me, hey, if you do XYZ, it'll work for you too, you believe it. And so you start to attract these things to you that before it was like, I
They didn't
can't do
have
that. It's
any, it wasn't
impossible. Now it's like, of
clear.
course I can do that. You
Yes.
know, he did it and he's telling me, oh, you just need to do this. So,
Wow.
you know, once again, it's about mindset. It's all about
It's about
mindset.
mindset. And so Maya Angelou says, when you learn, teach. And I believe in
Mm,
the power of mentorship so much. And I'm listening to the story with your mentee, and I'm like, that's it. And we have this community that we're building right now, Mindset Mastery 360, where there's different levels.
mm,
But the whole thing is each one teach one, because we
mm,
all are people of value. And when we start adding value to people, there makes more room for more value to be added to us. And so I believe that that
mm,
abundance and the dream and the goal is all wrapped up in what sometimes what we're willing to do for another person, even when we might seem like we don't have enough. It's like, well, I want to teach people how to build a business, but I didn't even read, my business hasn't even seen an income yet. Like, am I really the
mm,
person to teach a business? Probably, if you start teaching, because while you are here struggling to bring the income, you've already laid out a roadmap that some people are not even thinking that what they need to
mm.
do is a business. So mentorship, and like you said, is always so important. We'll be right back after these messages for our final segment, where we're going to do flip the script with Mr. Akeem Shannon. We'll be right back. Whew, disruptors, we're winding down to the end of this masterful episode with Mr. Akeem Shannon. This episode is called Resilience Redefined. He is the definition of resilience, what a resilience mindset looks like in life, in entrepreneurship, and in ultimately becoming successful. The theme at Mindset Mastery Moments is that your mindset is the key to your success. And so now we're at that segment where we call it Flip the Script. And so today, Mr. Shannon, our question is for you. When it comes to what you believe in yourself and how you continue to push forward no matter what is the one mindset? I mean, you've told us only like 1,500 of them already, but what would you say it's that most defining mindset shift that you've made in your journey that's been able to unlock success for you?
To me, listen, give me an easy question at the end of something. Hey, you gave me a hard one. Um, you know, when I think about flipping the script, right? I was trying to just, people ask me all the time, right? Like, what, you're different than us, Akeem. Like, well, you're different, and we normal people, we can't do that. You're different. And I don't really see myself as that different, but someone told me,
Mm-hmm.
she said, you know, you can live in the what if. Like, you live in this space where whatever you dream could happen is reality for you. Where for the regular person,
Mm-hmm.
we see reality as it is and you don't.
Mm.
And as I was thinking about that, a word came to mind for me and it was invincible.
Ooh.
And I started to think like, what has allowed me to continue to move forward is invincibility. Like, and invincibility is not, when you're invincible, right? A superhero doesn't not get hit, right?
Come
They
on.
don't not get knocked down, beat up, tore up. But because they're invincible, they always get to come back. They
Ooh.
always get to fight them again, fight those battles again, and eventually they overcome.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, somewhere along my journey, just became invincible.
Yes.
And so even though I would take hits and I would fall down,
Mm.
I would never say, this is it. This is not it. I'm invincible. I can keep going. I can
Yes.
heal. I can come back and I can live to fight another day. And what I love about this segment about flipping the script is that for me, life has always been about these moments where it's time to flip. And
Woo.
I'll tell you,
Lipstick.
In one of those moments right now. Yeah, exactly. Flip stick, flipping the script.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm in one of those moments in life right now where I believe that as much as I've loved Flipstick, it's time for a new chapter. It's
Mm.
time for me to be able to go out and teach what it is that I've learned along the journey.
Yeah.
And so, actually, a couple of weeks ago, on Christmas Day, actually, I put out a video
Yeah.
telling people that Flipstick was shutting down.
I missed it.
And
I missed that
so,
video.
this is news for you.
Yes.
So I put out a video saying that Flipstick was shutting down. We had this
Mm.
incredibly successful run. As you mentioned, we were one of the 50 fastest growing companies, consumer product companies in the country in 2023.
Yes.
But the thing is, it wasn't a profitable business. And we didn't have an opportunity to sell it to someone because it was so closely tied to me and my story. And
Mm.
so I put out a message to say, hey, unless we got to raise more money or try other things, we've done everything we could to scale this business. And we got pretty far. We've made millions of dollars in this
Yes.
business.
Yes.
And I've hired employees and had employees. It's just been this incredible experience. But I
Yes.
had to ask myself, you mentioned earlier about Maya Angelou. And I
Mm.
was listening to Maya, and I'm probably gonna butcher her quote, so forgive me.
No, it's fine. I
But
do it all the time.
she she has a story, and she talks about how we're all on this highway of life, and
Mm.
we drive down this highway, and at some point some of us pull off to the side of the road and we park. And
Mm.
sometimes we park because we didn't got banged up, been in car accidents.
Whew.
We like, oh, I need to just pull off to the side. But some of us pull off to the side because we've gone so far. We're like, I don't need to go any further. We may
Mm.
run out of gas. We may have gas in the tank, but we just pull off and we park. And I realized
Mm.
that in my business, as far as I got, I was parked.
Mm.
And the development and the
Ooh.
excitement and that vibration where I just feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, I wasn't feeling that anymore.
Ooh. Wow.
And that decision was such a it was a hard decision. When I talk about taking time to
Mm.
heal, like it took me 2 months just to make the announcement.
Oh my God.
Um, but it was one of those times where I'm like, I had known for a while what I was meant to be doing, and for me, I knew it was doing exactly what I'm doing right here, right
Right
now.
now.
It was teaching and telling people the stories and the lessons that I learned to get as far as I had
Oh
come.
my God.
And because I had gone on this journey of Flipstick,
Yes.
I had this incredible story to tell. And I
Yes.
was realizing people were learning, and I was giving people more through telling them the journey than I was through the actual product. And I remember I got invited at the beginning of last year. I got
Mm.
invited to speak at this conference. It was a church conference for youth, and
Mm-hmm.
they were going to have a Shark Tank competition. And so they
Yes.
invited me to come be the head judge and to speak to the kids. And so we go and I speak, and the kids are just, oh, they were so excited. And I convinced the church to give the money to the kids and not to their home churches, because I was like, no, we got to put this money in these kids' pockets. And I remember at the end of this conference, this mother comes up to me,
Mm-hmm.
sobbing, crying. And she's just, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she tells me about her son who was in the competition. He didn't win, y'all. He got like fifth place. We only gave him $1,000.
Uh-huh.
And she comes up crying, and she's telling me, she's like, you just don't understand. You changed my son's life. He
Yes.
listened to your story. He was ready to shut down his business. He wasn't making money. He was ready to give up. And he
Yes.
heard your story, and you gave him that money to buy his next piece of equipment.
Wow.
And now I've never seen him so excited, and he's motivated, and he's just ready to just give it
Take it.
everything he's got. Sure, I'm tearing up here too.
Yes.
And it was just one of those moments like, this mother didn't come up and tell me, you know, I love your product. You know what I'm saying? My son loves your
It's
product.
you.
she came up to tell me that, I had stirred something inside of him. And for me, that was just like, man, I'm getting emotional now just thinking
I
about it,
know, me
because
too. Oh,
it was one of those things where I was like, wow, this is what I'm meant to do.
this is
And
it's,
while I was full time running a business, I could never do that. Right. I didn't have the time to do that except on the rare occasion. Right. It's like
yes,
once or twice a year I would do something like that. Or in the case of my little brother, I would do it for one person over the course of 5 years. And I'm like, what I believe that I can bring is much bigger than that.
mm,
It's not one or two people, it could
mm-mm.
be millions of people, but I have to make that decision. And I have felt for a while that God was putting a winter in my path, because He's like,
For
I'm
a
ready for you to do
reason.
something else.
Yes.
You've done and accomplished what I wanted you to accomplish here, and now it's time for the next chapter. And just like with Alchemist, sometimes God got to beat you over the head so you start to listen, because I wasn't listening. But I had listened to Les Brown talk about
Mm.
how he was a disc jockey. He thought that he was just meant to be a DJ on the radio, and
Yes.
he gets fired from the job, and he wanted to be a speaker, but instead of going to be a speaker, he organizes the DJs and gets his job back. So he had to get fired a second time. And I just felt like, I'm like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
God's gonna fire me a few times if I don't just go after what it is I'm supposed to be doing. Uh, and that
Yes.
was the decision I made. As
Oh my,
tough as it was, and we had to explain to my investors that we weren't going to get to where we are trying to get. It was very hard. It was
yes.
very, very hard. Feeling like you've
Ooh,
quit, like I've let people down. Like it was a very difficult decision to make, but I knew, and I had known for a while, but I finally came to realize, like, no, this is part of a higher purpose. And
yeah.
what I will do in my next chapter will be, when I flip the script, will be far more than I ever could have dreamed
Right.
that Flipstick would be.
Wow.
So that's my flip of the script. It's
Oh
happening right now.
my gosh.
And
Oh,
you talked about my videos. People will get to watch it in real time.
yes.
What that looks like, and I can only do that because, yeah, remember, I've done it before.
Yeah. You have
I've done it many times before,
before.
so now it's not
You,
as scary for
but
me, because I'm like,
that was the
if I
preparation.
could, it was the preparation. It was the
Here's the
preparation.
thing, and I'm point 2 milliseconds from tears coming out of my eye with your share. And I want our audiences to lean in to all that you just said in so much vulnerability, but yet assertive power.
Mm,
Mm. I hope that you heard that he said this whole entire time he was still walking his purpose. His why is not changing, but his how is.
mm,
His
mm,
why, meaning his impact and all that he's called to do. And so, Akeem, many of our listeners and many of the audiences I speak to and people I coach, they're like, Dr. Whyte, I still don't know what I'm supposed to be when I grow up. I'm still trying to figure it out. They're 30, they're 50, they're 20, they're 18. And I'm like, stop trying. What have you been doing? And what do you want to do right
mm,
now that you're most passionate about?
mm,
What are you most passionate about? What you would do anything to stop the world from turning so you can just do that, be that, feel that, experience that, live that, and facilitate for other people. Because here's what it
mm,
is. Everything about what Akeem just said is connected to how he impacted other people's lives. That now created that ripple effect back to him because every human we encounter is a mirror. And so it's just like a feed, it's a frequency that feeds back and forth. So I want to encourage our listeners today that if you've been a doctor, a gynecologist, or you've been an attorney, or you've been a saleswoman, you've been a 500,000 million billion-dollar CEO company, and that is not what makes your heart sing. Akeem just told us it's okay. Let it go. It's been a great run. but my soul will not die in the process of me continuing. Because one of the things we talked with Dr. Kareem Akeem last week on this show was you have to know when to say, that's it. That's it. And as humans, we suffer and the world miss out, and we miss out on the life that we're truly meant to live because we don't understand that saying this is the end of the road in something or in a part of our journey is actually killing us. And I'm not saying that you were dying. Maybe you were. But what you're saying is, even though nothing is wrong, you could keep running this thing. You might even find innovative ways to bring more money to it and make millions and possibly billions, create new products and different dimensions of it. But you're saying it's now a part of what's in my rear view. It has to be, or I will not be the full expressed version of what I was created for.
It's so true. And I was so close. You really hit something there when you say like you could have done something else. And so, Dr. Alisa, there was this time I was told an investor, I was like, hey, this is where we're at. And they said, all right, well, I want you to talk to my person there, a crisis manager. And so I talked to this crisis manager PR person. I didn't think I needed to talk to them. I'm like, people like me, it's not going to be that serious. But I talked to him anyway. And I'm telling her everything, and she's giving me, the PR spin stuff. And I tell her about this project we had. We had this opportunity to work with the military to create this adhesive patch that would allow soldiers to mount stuff in the field. And so as we were pivoting to trying to figure out a way to be more profitable, I was pursuing this path and we're getting traction. And I was telling her about it because I was really excited. And she stopped me and she said, Akeem, when we started this call, you told me that, Flipstick may be over. What you told me you wanted to do was to go and speak to people. And now you're telling me about this project and it could work out. I see what you've accomplished. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. But she said, that'll be another 5 years that you will not be doing what it is you told me that you wanted to do. Ooh. And I was like, it shook me because I was like, is it possible that I could pursue this and it work out and it still be not what I wanted to happen? I always assumed that if something worked in my favor, that it was what I was meant to do. It was the path that I was meant to chart. And she's like, no, you have the resilience to do it anyway, even though it's not what's in your heart. And so when she said that to me, it gave me this perspective to be like, okay, I probably could make it work. And I probably could grind it out, but I'll delay what it is I really, truly right now in my life, what I want to do. And so I think it's like we all go on these journeys. And for people who haven't read The Alchemist, I highly recommend they read it, because what you'll find in that book is that for this kid on his journey, he does one thing for a while until it's not what he's supposed to do anymore. Right. And then he does another thing for a while until it's not what he's supposed to do anymore. And sometimes it's like, man, he needs to get going. He's supposed to go find his treasure and he's stuck in this one spot. But it's going great in that one spot. Yeah. And so, it's one of those things where I feel like for the past 6 years, almost 6 years that I've been on this journey with Flipstick, I was doing what I was supposed to be doing for the vast majority of it. Absolutely. Until I wasn't. And it was time for me to do something else.
Yes. So do it until you're not supposed to anymore is what we're taking away. And it's okay. Because you're, and that's the thing about some people are trying different business activities because they want to make money, but they know they want to do this, but they're too afraid to do that because it doesn't look like a lot of money. In the beginning of the show, you talked about choosing a certain career college degree because that was what made a lot of money. Hello, no wonder you dropped out.
You know what I'm saying? And I hated chemistry.
you hated chemistry. And I promise you, there are people who were disappointed with me when I decided that I was going to pursue, number one, in my journey of entrepreneurship, but more than anything, a heart-centered entrepreneur where most of
Mm,
what I do was surrounded taking what I've learned and teaching people literally for free all over the world.
mm,
And there were people who were saying, well, where's the money? When are you going to make money off of this stuff? And there are people who are still like, probably has a billion ideas as how I can make money off of what I'm doing. But I'm going to do this the way God told me how I should do it.
mm,
Because when when I follow his blueprint, abundance is already here. The
mm,
money and the multiplication of dollar signs will come when I open up heart space and room mindset, actually more mindset that I need more money. And I create, like you said, you hired a bunch of employees and stuff. If you didn't do that, you wouldn't make millions of dollars
mm,
with Flipstick. You would still be at the
mm.
malls trying to get more
Yep.
deals at the malls. You didn't go to Target and all these incredible things. But do you think that you have life lessons to teach entrepreneur? You racked up millions of lessons in business and in life in the last 6 years in the space of life and entrepreneurship. And so I just want to bless you to just do that. And I love that. I love this one. And we appreciate you sharing that. Someone's going to sit in their car crying when they hear your words about saying, Dr. Whyte, that's it. That's the run. Not that it's not for sale anymore. He's stepping away from it and going into what he believed this season of his life is for. My last question for you before you give us your takeaway is what we ask every guest on the show. Akeem, what is success for you?
Oh, wow. For me, success is being able to wake up every morning and feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Boom.
And sometimes, that may mean that I don't have the money I may want to have at the moment, but I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Oh my
And so as long as when I wake up, I'm where I'm supposed to be, I know where eventually I'm going to be where I'm supposed to be because I'm there today. And so, you know, one thing I will say is this morning I woke up and I was where I was supposed to be. And so I feel so incredibly, successful. And I remember last night or 2 nights ago, and I was telling you about this story earlier. Someone was watching my videos, and we made, when you run a business, especially a consumer product business, you make tons of content, right? I mean, I've made so many posts and worked with so many influencers,
Mm-hmm.
and no one has ever called me about a post that I've ever made, ever. Okay, like one of those Shark Tank maybe, but no one's called me about a post. I've been posting these stories about how I got to where I'm at right now and kind of letting people follow along this journey. And I've only posted maybe 4 videos. And I get a call from this kid who I had not seen since 7th grade. He was a year behind me. And he found my number. He calls me up and he's like, bro, I don't know who's running your social media, but bro, he's like, what you posted, it touched me. And he tells me this whole story of how he had lost his
Mm-hmm.
restaurant during the pandemic and was in California. And then he had to leave and move to Atlanta, all this stuff. And he just watched one of my videos. And for him, he's like, I'm doing better than I ever have. And I just watched your video and the vulnerability and just letting us know like you failed. Like it meant everything to me. And then the fact that you picked up the phone when I called you, he's like, you got to remember, we were great behind you. I remember, he told me that I didn't even remember the story. He tells me, he's like, man, I remember being 8th grade and you came back from high school and you came and told us what it was going to be like in high school,
Wow.
and you were just telling us what we should watch out for, what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to call you 20 years later and for you to pick up the phone, he's like, you understand, to us who knew you back then, you're like a celebrity. And for you to pick up the phone and for you to put those videos out for me to watch them and for it to make me feel the way I feel, he's like, bro, you got to keep being a vessel. And I literally start crying in the car listening to this because
Showing
no
you
one
that you're on the
ever
path.
called me to
Mhm.
tell me something like that about content, because I'm generally not the type of person that likes to make a lot of content. Like I do it when I had to for business, but that's not me.
Yes.
But this content felt inspired.
Special. Yeah.
And for someone literally 4 days into putting this content out, for someone to find my phone number and call me to tell me that was the sign that I needed to say, Keith, you're right where you're
You're
supposed to
supposed
be.
to be. And that is what, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Akeem Shannon calls success. Waking up and knowing that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I feel like that is the most profound yet simple definition of success that I can definitely put in my own world and quote him wherever I go in the world, because a lot of times people ask me that question, and basically I always say it's being at peace. My thing is, when I'm at peace with myself and everything that I've done and I'm doing, and there's no inner conflict necessarily that's loud and screaming. And y'all, I told y'all he was my bro. We like stuck together because he comes up here saying all the things. Y'all, you, those who know me, it's like he's living, breathing my life and my journey as well. So, Akeem, this part is where we give you the microphone. I step away and I want you to tell our viewers. What did I do for a second? Are you there?
Oh, it cut out
Okay.
right at the end. You said you want to tell our viewers.
Okay, good. So I'm going to cut it back. Akeem, this is where I want you to tell our viewers, like, you had, this was your last chance ever to say anything to anyone, your best, most incredible advice or inspiration or motivation. It's just you. Take the mic and hit it.
Look, no matter where you are in your journey, if you think you haven't gone far enough, if you think you can't move forward, I think it's important to remember, like, you can do it, and other people have done it, and have done it from a place that was much more difficult, much harder than where you're at right now. And so if they could do it, you can do it. I think that believing in ourselves, we get taught and we get programmed throughout our lives to believe that there are limits, right? There are limits on how much money is in the world, there's limits on who can do XYZ. And the truth is that that's not true. It's unlimited. There is unlimited abundance out there. Think about the fact that there once upon a time, there was only 10 millionaires on this planet. Now there's millions of millionaires. There was a time there was only 1 billionaire. Now there's hundreds of billionaires. And think about, there was a time where there was only enough for a handful of people to make money on television, to make money in movies. Now there's millions of people who sit in front of a camera and make millions. Like, the limitations only exist until we believe that they don't exist anymore. A recent thing happened. I was watching the news, and this kid beat Tetris. And people thought for the past 60, 50 years that Tetris has been around, it's an unbeatable game. Well, I started looking into why did people think Tetris was unbeatable? Well, initially they thought that they could only get to level 29 of Tetris because at level 29 the buttons would not allow you to move over to the sides of the screen to move your block into where it needs to be. Until 20 odd years after they created the game, this guy realized that if he pressed his finger hard enough, he could make the button move faster than holding it down. So all of a sudden, he got past level 29 to 30, 31, 32, 33. Then people got to level 34 and they said, listen, you can't get further. Your finger can't move that fast. Well, another kid comes along and says, well, if I tap the underside of the controller, it'll push it back up into my finger and I can double the speed that I tap on this button. All of a sudden, people start going to level 50, 60, 100. They start seeing colors in the game that you could never see. Then they get to this point where they're like, well, there's no way to get past these final levels because the game starts breaking down. Well, this kid can't be more than 14 years old. He's using all these techniques that is building on top of what other people have accomplished. And he is able to make the game completely crash. He caused the game to crash with a final kill screen, never been done before by a human being. And it was at like level 250. People thought no more than 15 years ago they couldn't get past level 29. He did what he thought he could do because he knew it was possible. So wherever you are, if you're stuck at level 29 in your life, know that there are people that have gone past level 29. And so can you.
Woo! Oh, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Drop the mic. Can y'all see where he's going? Did y'all see why he did become the top 50 CEO? So he could get ready for this chapter. So he could get ready for this. Oh, Lord, I'm loving my life. I'm so blessed. I am honored. We are honored to have you. Akeem, please tell us where we can find you, how we can connect to you, and feed off of this brilliance of light and energy that you bring to the world. It is your time, and we want to be a part of it.
Well, if people want to follow me, they can follow me at Akeem Shannon. That's Akeem Shannon, Shannon. I'm at Akeem Shannon on all social media platforms. And if you want to reach out to me directly, I have a group text where I send you messages either from myself or from other people that I find inspiring. And you can also reach me one-on-one. And you can do that by texting me at 314-789-9005.
And this will also be in the bio, wherever you're listening to the podcast. It would also be on social media and Mindset Mastery Moments website. You're not going to miss him because he stuck with me for life. I am like, I already told him when we first met, I'm like, you're not doing it. And, he's probably like, I don't bother anyone, but he's got a big sister for life. And I'm so proud to have you as a guest today and to have you, I would say, as a fellow speakerpreneur, motivator, thought leader, a global thought leader. Welcome to the new chapter of your life. You announced it to the world a few days ago, but now this side of the world gets the information. Watch out for Akeem Shannon. Here he comes. It's nonstop. We want to thank you so much, Akeem, for being our guest and for sharing your insights and wisdoms in such vulnerability, insightful, mind-blowing, mindset-shifting, one nugget at a time. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say to us before you go?
Listen, I just want to thank you because when I see your journey and what you've accomplished, when you took the leap, it made me feel like, Akeem, look, she did it. She's doing it. And you can do it too. So, I hope that I could give something to some other people today, but I want you to know that what I may have given to someone else, you're giving to me. And I know you're giving it to a lot of other people other than me too. Wow. So I'm just very appreciative that you saw my email, you reached back out, we were able to hop on a call and get to know each other, and that you said yes. So thank you.
You are an absolute yes, a great yes, because I find when I say yes in this journey, where I've evolved to, it's always coming. My yeses come from deep within. They're not head yeses, and they're not, oh, this is going to really look good. Yes. It's always a yes that says yes. And so just flushing out the show today, it's a yes that's not just a yes for a recording of a wonderful episode that's going to be talked about for a long, long time, but it's a journey that we will get to share together. So yes, Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to us. We have a lot more to say. That's why he will be back. Mr. Shannon will be back, and you will see us too, probably popping somewhere. I don't know. We're going to do a lot of things. And guys, it includes cupcakes. But shh. That's a whole nother episode. It includes pastries. Shh.
Yes.
I want to wish you guys love, light, peace, and blessings. And we're out. Bye.